Coalition, as a newly established group, we've come together out of a shared concern for the current state of our Marysville School District. While our group is still in its early stages and maintains an informal structure, our aim is to solidify our presence in this community through tangible goals that can help mend relationships between community institutions and our valued members. Tonight, we have a specific objective to present our community with an alternative and transparent view of the school district's budget. Following the presentation, we encourage all of you to share your thoughts, concerns, and questions. We genuinely want to hear your input, and we'll take these valuable insights to various stakeholders in our community for thoughtful responses. Our aspiration is for these community forums to become a regular occurrence, serving as a platform for all stakeholders, including elected officials, to better understand and connect with the community they serve. This format provides them with an opportunity to respond and collaborate in ways that foster trust and cooperation. While we extended invitations to many elected officials, regrettably, some were unable to attend for various reasons or did not RSVP. Nevertheless, we express our gratitude to Senator Robinson, Marysville School Board Directors Beth Hoyde and Eliza Davis, and Ron Friesen from Best Schools Marysville, and I think I see another representative back there as well. Dawn, thank you, for being present this evening. Now, I'd like to introduce Courtney Ramirez, a representative of the Pilchuck Uniserve Council. She will guide us through a presentation detailing the current budget situation of the school district. After the presentation, we'll open up the floor for questions and comments regarding the information presented. Should time allow, we will proceed to an open mic session where you can share any additional thoughts, concerns, or questions you may have. Please be aware that we aim to conclude tonight's event promptly at 8:30. Furthermore, we are delighted to have Elizabeth Alejo, our Spanish interpreter, with us tonight. Please pause during your comments to allow her to provide periodic interpretation for our Spanish-speaking community members, both here and online. Once again, thank you for your presence and engagement. Let's work together to build a stronger and more collaborative Marysville community.
Buenas noches y gracias por acompañarnos en el primer foro comunitario organizado por la Coalición Comunitaria de Marysville. Mi nombre es Jay Human y fundador de la Coalición Comunitaria de Marysville. Esta noche están presentes conmigo varios representantes de nuestra coalición. Como grupo recién establecido, nos hemos unido por una preocupación compartida por el estado actual de nuestro distrito escolar de Marysville. Si bien nuestro grupo aún no se encuentra en sus primeras etapas y mantiene una estructura informal, nuestro objetivo es solidificar nuestra presencia en esta comunidad y a través de los objetivos tangibles que pueden ayudar a mejorar la relación entre las instituciones comunitarias y nuestros valiosos miembros. Esta noche tenemos un objetivo específico: presentar a nuestra comunidad una visión alternativa y transparente del presupuesto del distrito escolar. Después de esta presentación, nos animamos a todos a compartir sus pensamientos, inquietudes, preguntas. Realmente queremos escuchar sus comentarios y llevaremos estos valiosos conocimientos a varias partes interesadas de nuestra comunidad para obtener respuestas reflexivas. Nuestra aspiración es que estos foros comunitarios se conviertan en algo habitual y sirvan como plataforma para que todas las partes interesadas, incluidos en los funcionarios electos, comprendan mejor y se conecten con la comunidad a la que sirven. Este formato les brinda la oportunidad de responder y colaborar de manera que fomenten la confianza y la cooperación. Si bien invitamos a muchos funcionarios electos, lamentablemente algunos no pudieron asistir, por diversas razones confirmaron su asistencia. Sin embargo, expresamos nuestra gratitud al senador Robinson y la directora de la Junta Escolar de Marysville, Beth Hovey, y Elisa Davis por estar presentes esta noche, y por supuesto Ron Friesen de Mejores Escuelas de Marysville. Ahora me gustaría presentarles a Courtney Ramírez, representante del Consejo Universitario de Pilcher. Ella nos guiará a través de una presentación que detalla la situación presupuestal actual del distrito escolar. Después de la presentación abriremos el piso preguntas y comentarios sobre la información obtenida. Si el tiempo nos permite, procederemos a una sesión de micrófono abierto donde podrá compartir cualquier pensamiento, inquietud o pregunta adicional que pueda tener. Tenga en cuenta que nuestro objetivo es concluir el evento de esta noche puntual a las 8:30. Una vez más, gracias por su presencia y compromiso. Trabajemos juntos para construir una comunidad de Marysville más fuerte y colaborativa.
Okay, hello everybody, I'm Courtney. It's nice to see everybody here tonight. We're going over the MSD budget because since the spring of last year, there's been some discrepancies in how they're spending, what they're spending, how much money they have, how much money they're getting, and we just wanted to create a space where we were reviewing the documents that they provided to the state.
Buenas noches. La razón por la que estamos aquí es para hablar del dinero, cómo se está gastando en el distrito escolar. Ha habido muchas anormalidades que se gastan, está el dinero, no sabemos qué es lo que está pasando. Entonces, este es un foro abierto para que puedan hacer preguntas y para poder comprender qué es lo que está pasando.
I just want to reiterate that these documents are not ones that any particular group has made. It's not documents from the unions, it's not documents from an outside party. These are documents that were submitted by the school district to the state.
Nada más quiero clarificar que estos documentos que voy a presentar, nadie los hizo, no son hechos, son documentos que el distrito escolar nos provee.
So the first slide we're going to start with is in the summer, before the district claimed that they were in a budget crisis, or after they claimed that they were in a budget crisis in June, they did a budget extension. And a budget extension is when they say, okay, the projected expenditures that we had planned for at the beginning of the school year, those are not going to be sufficient for how much money we actually are spending.
Lo que estamos hablando es lo del verano pasado, una proyección de los gastos que nos dieron. Fue algo que nos dijeron que se iba a gastar, pero en realidad se va a gastar más de lo que ellos proyectaron.
So I want to start with the current budget, which is, I'm starting with last year's budget to make sense of all of this so everyone can get a good understanding. But this was the original budget that the district had for the 22-23 school year, with a total expenditure of $184,851,933.
Nada más para clarificar que este fue el budget como empezamos el año. Está apuntando en sus $1,084,851,933.
I want to point out in this budget that they estimated to spend $14 million in supplies and materials and $18 million in purchase services. Supplies and materials is for students and the instructional program, and purchase services can be consultants, agency staff helping out with special education and other services that the district brings in to do that are not district employees.
Quiero que noten que dijeron que iban a gastar 14 millones en materiales y programas de la escuela y 18,151,000 en otros servicios.
So you can see that during the budget extension, they increased their projected supplies and materials expenses by $4.8 million.
So ellos añadieron 4 millones que es lo que iban a gastar en materiales.
So they're saying we need to spend more money on student supplies. They also increased spending for certificated salaries and employee benefits and payroll. These are teachers and administrators, and that's the benefits that they get along with their salaries.
Ok, la parte de arriba de 2.891.036 es la parte de los salarios, y la otra parte de 267.742 es la parte de salarios clasificados.
So there was a total of $10.9 million increase to the total expenditures for the 22-23 school year.
So, añadieron 10.960.150 aparte de lo que ellos habían estimado que iba a haber. So, aumentaron 10.960.000 en los gastos.
So it equals, so adding the 10.9 million to the 184 million that was previously expected to spend, they had a projected expenditure amount of $195,812,083.
Añadiendo las dos cantidades, damos la cantidad de 195.812.83, añadiendo lo que ellos ya tenían más los 10 millones que añadieron para los gastos.
Okay, we're going to go to the next slide. So this is budgeted revenue versus actual revenue. We can see here, this is called the F-196 budget. This is the link that people can click on to find that document. They projected they were going to get $180 million in revenue, but they actually ended up getting $182.5 million in revenue, which was an unexpected increase of $1.9 million.
So, este documento que se llama es del revenue, se muestra cómo en vez de obtener 180 millones, obtuvieron 182 mil millones, que obviamente incrementó por 1.976.272.
So that was a good thing. We got more money than we expected.
So ahí se nota que agarramos más dinero de lo que se esperaba.
So next I want to go over what they spent last school year, because they increased the budget, so they projected to spend more money. Remember, we saw that they increased their supplies and materials line item by $4.7 million. So when we look at what they budgeted, this is the new budget that we just reviewed with the extension. When you look at supplies and materials, you can see the 18.8, like we saw. We can see the purchase services with 18.2. But when we look at their actual spending, they only spent $8 million of the $18 million that they thought they would spend in supplies and materials.
So, como podemos ver, ahí está junto todo lo que se gastó, los gastos que se esperaban, aumentaron. Ahí está el gasto de 18.876.000 que se iba a gastar en las materiales. Después vemos en el actual 22-23 que es lo que se gastaron nada más 8 millones. Eso quiere decir que 10 millones no se gastaron.
So if we look back to the previous document, we saw that the original budget was for 14 million. So why did we increase it by 4.8 million when we only spent 8 million?
Como miraron en las páginas anterior, lo incrementaron 4 millones más, que obviamente dio una cantidad de 18 millones, pero al final lo que se terminó gastando fue 8 millones nada más.
You can see that we underspent the new budget, the new expenditure line items by about $2.something million. So they thought we would end at 195. We ended the school year spending only $192.7 million.
Como pueden ver, se esperaba que se iba a gastar 1.195.000 millones, pero en realidad gastamos menos. En el año escolar 22-23 nada más se gastaron 192.000 millones.
Now I want to talk about beginning fund balances. So whenever we start a school year, the beginning fund balance is the money that we start with in the bank. This can be cash on hand, this can be inventory, this can be different materials. We have curriculum in storage somewhere, so it's not all fluid cash, but in this situation, a lot of it is fluid cash.
Esta página es el balance iniciativo del año escolar. Esto es lo que se tiene, puede ser en efectivo, no puede ser en cualquier otra cosa que se tenga, pero ese es el dinero que se empieza, es el balance que empezamos al principio.
So I want to go back. When you look at the actual total beginning fund balance for the 21-22 school year, it was $19,170,928. They then ended that school year with $20 million in their fund balance.
Como pueden ver, en el año 21-22 gastaron 19 millones, terminamos con $20,059,025.
So that means for the 22-23 school year, last school year, we started the school year with $20 million in our bank.
Eso quiere decir que en el 22-23 empezamos con 20 millones en el banco para la escuela, o fondos.
So the district assumed that by the end of the 22-23 school year, even though we started with $20 million in the bank, they thought that we were going to end with only $5.5 million in the bank.
Entonces la escuela o el distrito pensó que empezamos obviamente con 20 millones y que íbamos a terminar con 5 millones.
That was assuming they were going to overspend their budget by $15 million. So when they created the new 23-24 budget, they assumed that they were going to start with even less in their fund balance, with $1.4 million, which would mean that they overspent and went into deficit in the 22-23 school year by roughly 18 or 19 million.
Eso quiere decir, cuando hicieron el presupuesto del 23-24, ellos estimaron que iban a empezar solamente con 1 millón. Eso quiere decir que el 22-23, ¿dónde están los 18 millones que no están ahí? De 20,000 a 1 millón es muchísima diferencia.
So now we're going to look at what the district actually ended up with last school year, so we can see what they started with versus how much they actually overspent and dipped into their fund balance, to see what they actually ended up with for the beginning of this school year.
Lo que vamos a hablar es lo que gastaron el año pasado con lo que terminaron y lo que ellos estimaron que íbamos a gastar este año.
So when we look at their final budget, this is again the budget, so this is not what they actually spent. They assumed that they were going to be overspent by, again, $15 million, which would mean that they had other revenue sources which would it would put in $810,000 into that, which would mean that they were actually only negative $14.4 million. But again, they had $20 million in the bank. And again, they said that they would end the school year with $5.5 million.
So, como vemos, en el principio, ahí donde dice final budget, es el presupuesto con el que ellos empezaron. Obviamente empezó negativo ahí, pero vemos que tuvieron otros recursos de $810,000, ¿verdad? Entonces terminaron negativo con terminaron el año escolar con 20 millones, entonces eso quiere decir que tenían 5,599,000.
But if we remember, we had that budget extension, and the budget extension automatically took out $10 million from the fund balance. So if we take out $10 million out of the $20 million that we had in the bank, we ended the school year with a positive $9.8 million.
Pero se acuerdan que les habíamos hablado que había una extensión sobre el presupuesto, ¿verdad? Que fue de 10 millones. Si retiramos los 10 millones de los 20 millones que estaban, terminamos con un balance de 9 millones 800. Eso es lo que tuvimos de haber terminado el año escolar.
This $9.8 million is our beginning fund balance for the 23-24 school year.
Esos 9 millones es lo que vamos a nuestro presupuesto para el año 23-24.
So I want to talk about enrollment and FTE. So FTE is the amount of individuals hired in the school district. So you have classified FTE, which are your paraeducators, bus drivers, food service staff. You have your HR analysts. You have a lot of other people who are included in classified.
So en esta página vamos a hablar de el FTE, son las personas que trabajan como los choferes de buses, los ayudantes de maestro o algunas personas que son contratadas, son consideradas clasificados.
The certificated portion of the FTE numbers are for instructional certificated staff. Those are your teachers. That also includes your certificated administrators. Some administrators are certificated and some administrators are not certificated and are in the classified section, which means that even though they are an administrator being paid at a $200,000 level, the state still only funds them at the classified level of $54,000 a year.
El FTA es algunos, si vemos el FTA son clasificados, algunos clasificados o FTA son, algunos tienen un certificado que son administradores e institucionales, que son algunos maestros que son clasificados y a otros que no son clasificados.
So say someone gets paid $200,000.
Okay, so si alguien se le paga $200,000
Because they're in the classified section.
porque están en la clase clasificada,
The state only funds them at $54,000.
el Estado nada más les da, los funda hasta 50,000.
So the district has to make up the rest.
So el distrito tiene que pagar por el resto.
So when we look at these numbers, we're going to focus on the FTE portion. For last year, they budgeted to have 726 certificated staff and 425 classified. They ended the school year, this is total individuals hired, FTE, so not headcount, FTE. They ended the school year with only 704 certificated staff and 387.9 classified. You can see there is a large savings between the two because less people equals less expenditures.
Okay, como podemos ver, empezamos el 22-23 con 726 personas certificadas administrativas y instruccionales y 425-345 clasificadas. Y ahorita lo que tenemos son 704 institucionales y administrativas. Juntos es la cantidad de 704 y 387 FTE clasificados. Eso quiere decir que deberíamos estar ahorrando un poco de dinero porque está menos de lo que ellos proyectaron en el 22-23.
When we look at this school year, we see that the district estimated to have 713.9 certificated staff and 442 classified staff. If you all remember, we had a reduction in force this year and last year. So if we're going to have a reduction in force of almost all the paraeducators and almost, let's say, 90 certificated staff, why would we have a budget with more staff than we had from last year?
Ok, so para el año 23-24 tenemos 713 personas clasificadas, ¿verdad? Ahorita actualmente son 670, tenemos 442 clasificadas. Si se recuerdan, el año pasado y este año han cortado algunos de los empleados, entonces eso quiere decir que porque ellos están estimando que vamos a tener menos dinero si en realidad están gastando menos dinero.
So throughout the school year, the school district has to send a S275 report to OSPI, and that reports all of their FTE between the certificated group and the classified group to report how many people they actually have at the school district.
So, ellos tienen un documento que pueden compartir, lo pueden ver con OSPI, y lo pueden ver y ahí pueden ver cómo a las personas que están contratadas.
So when we asked for their S275 report for the October snapshot, they reported having 670 certificated staff and 418 classified staff. And when you compare what we budgeted to what we actually have, there's quite a big difference.
So, si podemos ver a lo que ellos estaban pensando, las personas que iban a estar. Este documento se obtuvo de la página de OSP y podemos ver que son 670 personas certificadas y 418. Podemos ver que hay una gran diferencia en el número de gente que está registrada y está certificada que podemos verificar.
When we look at how much the average salary is for classified and certificated, you can do the math, and we came up with about that the reduced actual staffing numbers can equal a savings of roughly $12.6 million that the district is not going to spend out of the budget that they created.
Si ponemos a hacer matemáticas y comparamos los dos números, podemos ver que el distrito debería de estar ahorrando o no gastando más bien 12.6 millones en sueldos para las personas.
Okay, I'm going to back up for this one. So this is a comparison chart of the 21-22 actual expenditures compared to the 22-23 actual expenditures. And what I want people to look at is to focus on how salaries seem to be within a normal range of increase and are comparable to the year previous, because if you have similar student populations, you have similar staff being hired, and similar expenditures for instruction.
Si podemos ver, esta es una gráfica para comparar los años escolares. En el 21-22 podemos ver que se puede, con el 2022-23, se puede ver que es algo notable, o sea que tuvimos la misma población, los gastos fueron similares, no hubo muchos cambios en el dinero.
So when we look at the 23-24 budget, if we're in a budget deficit and we cut lots and lots of staff and we have lower enrollment, then I guess my question, everyone's question, but why are we expecting to spend more money this year, almost in all of the categories, when we have less certificated staff, less classified staff, which equal less benefits going out to employees?
Ok, so nuestra pregunta es al 2023-2024. Ellos si vemos los salarios, tenemos menos personas trabajando para el distrito escolar que son certificados, y si ponen a ver la gráfica en todas las secciones, ellos están gastando mucho más dinero. Cuando tenemos menos estudiantes, podemos comparar ahí que ellos están estimando que vamos a gastar 10 millones más en materiales para los estudiantes. Podemos ver la diferencia en tan solo en los beneficios son cercanos, pero más, sin embargo, tenemos muchísima menos gente que son clasificados y que los salarios deberían de ir disminuyendo porque tenemos menos gente que trabaja en las escuelas.
So I want people to look at specifically the supplies and instructional materials budget. In 21-22, they spent 7.8. Last year, they spent 8. And again, this year, they're projecting that they're going to spend $18.9 million, which is an increase of $10.9 million. But we don't know what they're going to spend that money on, because when we ask, they say that's where we store money. But how do you store money that you don't have?
So, como les mencioné, ellos están proyectando que van a gastar 10 millones más en útiles o materiales para los estudiantes. En realidad no sabemos cómo van a gastar los 10 millones. Ellos lo único que han dicho es que es un lugar donde se puede como acomodar el dinero o se puede guardar el dinero, pero en realidad nuestra pregunta es ¿cómo lo van a guardar y cómo nos vamos a gastar 10 millones en materiales para los estudiantes o para la escuela?
I also want people to remember about the budget extension from June. Remember, we increased the budget from 184 million to 192 million, even though we were supposed to be reducing the budget. But now, the budget is $13.7 million more than what we spent last year. But we're also still missing a levy payment, and we have less staff and less students. So why are we projecting to spend $13.7 million more when we have a reduced educational program?
Aquí estamos viendo que el año pasado, ¿verdad? Terminaron con 192 millones. El año que viene ellos están proyectando que vamos a gastar 206 millones, pero si recordamos, teníamos una extensión de junio y terminamos obviamente con 13 millones o más. Ahora, todavía no llega el dinero del levy, todavía faltan algunas cosas que faltan, dinero que falta por llegar. En el budget, en los gastos, entonces ese dinero, eso es lo que estamos tratando de ver, dónde se va a poner todo ese dinero.
It also doesn't make sense to, I think I already said this, but there were salary increases. There was a COLA that was pushed down from the state on the state-funded salary amount per the area and regionalization that each district is in. And so when people did get their raises, there was also money to fund a portion of those raises. So it's not all coming out of the levy pocket. There was a IPD, which was 3% increase. So all of the money that the state gives the school district to function, all of that money increased by that amount. So they got more of a boost as well. And we're not saying that they got like a ton of money, but it does help compensate for the levy loss that we had. So there was a $9 million roughly increase from the state in state funding, but we lost $13 billion. So you can see that there would be about a $4 million deficit. So it's not as drastic as what I've seen the district present, but you can see that if we have less staff, that's quite a bit of money. That's quite a lot more money for a raise that was partially funded.
Okay. So, lo que ella está tratando de explicar es que tenemos obviamente mucho menos gente que está trabajando. En realidad, terminamos, 9 millones. El dinero del levy todavía no ha venido, ¿verdad? Entonces estábamos negativos a 9 millones. Estamos en una de 4 millones, así como lo están explicando en la escuela, que sí va a haber un cambio o una etapa donde vamos a ver una pérdida de dinero, porque terminamos negativos, pero no es como ellos nos están explicando. Sí va a llegar todavía el dinero del levy, pero como ellos están estimando que van a gastar cuando tenemos menos estudiantes, menos maestros, menos, no sé cómo van a gastar 10 millones en materiales. Eso es lo que estamos viendo y es lo que estamos tratando de entender y lo que queremos que ellos nos expliquen. Porque sí puede ver que haya una reducción de gastos, pero no tan drástica como ellos nos están expresando. Eso es más que nada nuestra preocupación.
Good job.
So as you can see here, what I see, what a couple other people here have seen is that the budget is inflated and the district is not able to explain what they are spending this money on in these line items that have increased so drastically. There's no purchase services that we've seen, there's no staffing that hasn't been included. We can't make sense of why the numbers are this large.
Okay, y como vuelvo a mencionar, no entendemos cómo el dinero o ellos están esperando gastar más dinero de los años anteriores y ahora tenemos menos gente, menos empleados, menos estudiantes. Eso es lo único que estamos tratando de entender. ¿Cómo es que van a gastar todo ese dinero con menos gente?
And if we go back to July, when that very initial budget was made and the district put out that the deficit went from 12 million to 18 million to 25 million to 28 million, we said, whoa, what's going on here right now? And we looked at their projected staffing FTEs, and they were even higher than what they are currently. And once we discussed that with them, miraculously, the deficit turned back into 17.5 million. So how you budget does create whatever your deficit's going to be.
Lo que estamos viendo, y si se acuerdan en julio cuando estaban hablando, ellos presentaron los gastos que iban a tener, fueron incrementando de 12, is it 12? 14?
It was like 12, 18.
So eran como, nos empezaron a decir que eran 12, 18, 25 millones, entonces fue cuando nosotros dijimos, esperen, ¿qué es lo que está pasando, verdad? ¿Cómo va a incrementar tanto los gastos cuando tenemos menos estudiantes? Más aparte, fue cuando terminaron y dijeron, bueno, va a ser como más o menos 17 millones, que es lo que se va a quedar, que vamos a gastar. Pero fue cuando nosotros nos dimos cuenta y tuvimos que preocuparnos porque estaban incrementando tanto los gastos.
So as you can see, this is why we're very concerned. And that's the end of that presentation. Do we want to do questions? Do people just want to raise their hand? I can run over to you.
Okay, este fue el final de nuestra presentación. Si alguien quiere hacer preguntas o tiene preguntas, por favor, puede hacer la mano.
Well, I'll start. I don't know if this is an answer that's something you can ask, but that overinflated line that they told you that's where they stockpile their mattress. Is there a purpose for stockpiling a mattress? Will it reflect on more funding somewhere? No, right? Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Bueno, lo que la señora está preguntando es, ¿se acuerdan de los 18 millones que estaban gastando y que dijimos que era como la forma de guardar dinero? Pues le llamamos que guardan el dinero abajo del colchón. Lo que ella está diciendo es, ¿hay otra manera de guardar el dinero o cómo es que ellos piensan gastar ese dinero?
Yeah, so the question was, why would they pocket money into one line item? Does it benefit them in some way? And no, it does not benefit them in a way, because when a district when they're making their budget, you want to put your money where you actually think you're going to spend it. So by padding it, it creates a inflation in your spending, which kind of off-puts how much you think that you're going to spend in certain line items. And if you just continue to move money out of a savings account, you're not really budgeting. You're just continuing to give money where maybe money shouldn't be given.
Okay, lo que ella está diciendo es que a veces pensamos que si por ejemplo ponen algún dinero del presupuesto como en una línea de lo que ellos piensan gastar, a veces les beneficia, pero en este caso no beneficia, no entendemos por qué ellos tienen que poner ese dinero en esa línea que supuestamente son materiales para los estudiantes. En realidad no, el dinero lo pueden mover constantemente, no necesariamente se tiene que poner en una línea y decir, oh, se va a gastar para esto y se tiene que gastar para esto. No hay ningún beneficio.
She had some hand up behind her.
Can I make one suggestion? Could you tell them that you are also over Monroe School District in Snohomish, so they realize you're very familiar with these budgets?
I also work in other school districts, and I look at budgets a lot, but I'm answering the questions as best I can. We have 2 other people here too, so if I say something that doesn't sound right, let me know.
I just wanted to continue with that thought. When you look at the, $10,000 increase and or $10 million, $10 million increase and what was actually spent that year prior, right? It kind of covers up the fact that they went over budget in other areas by roughly $5.5 million that I kind of pieced together.
Okay,
So you think they could be potentially hiding the fact that they might go over budget in the salary areas later with that? And then, oh look, we came in 2 million under.
Ok, lo que está preguntando y lo que está, es una idea solamente de la señora, lo que ella piensa es que a lo mejor los 10 millones que ellos estaban poniendo en los materiales, a lo mejor ellos los gastaron en otra cosa o los piensan gastar como para cubrir algunas de las áreas de las líneas, ya sea en salarios o en otra cosa, ¿verdad? Y a lo mejor van a decir, oh, pues nos gastamos como 2 millones más en esta área, ¿verdad? Y de ahí, pues obviamente de los 10 millones quitarían los 2 millones.
It could make it look like you were coming in under budget overall, but you have to say your question again. I'm sorry,
I guess, does it look better that they came under budget altogether if you can see that they're potentially coming over budget in more crucial areas than supplies?
I think that it creates a sense of, it scares people. It scares people to think, oh my gosh, we have no money, so we're going to start taking money from here, we're going to start taking money from here, and we're going to just start saving everything because we're going to expend this much money, and then at the end of the school year when they don't spend it, they look better because they didn't expend that much money, and it looks like they actually saved the budget situation. But there's no benefit to budgeting state money in a way that isn't transparent to its public, because if you put a bunch of money in supplies and materials or purchase services, then you can spend that money however you want because you're not spending it on salaries.
Ok, so aquí la idea, lo que están diciendo es que aparentemente a lo mejor el distrito trató o está tratando de hacernos pensar que el dinero que están, que no tienen el suficiente dinero, ¿verdad? Pero en realidad, para ellos aparentarse y decir, oh, pues no tenemos el dinero, pero simplemente no están siendo transparentes porque el dinero del Estado lo tienen que, es dinero del Estado y tienen que ser transparentes en cómo se está gastando el dinero. Da más miedo a la gente que esté diciendo, oh, no hay dinero. Obviamente la gente se preocupa, pero ellos a lo mejor tomaron la decisión incorrecta, ¿verdad? Y poner esos 10 millones, es decir, que se van a gastar en materiales.
So currently, I can just tell you this too, is on the monthly status reports, because they have to pass those every month to the school board. They say, okay, we have our baseline budget, $206 million, but we're actually going to move some money from salaries into purchase services, but we're not going to say why. And then we're not gonna tell you what we're gonna spend in purchase services, but say that they started encumbering a bunch of purchase services invoices and, purchase orders. Then when we say, oh, we're gonna negotiate, or someone needs money, or someone needs salaries, then they could essentially just say, like, we don't have that because the money's already spent over here, but we don't know where they spent it.
So, lo que nos está explicando es que lo que les mencioné, ellos pueden estar poniendo o gastando, moviendo el dinero básicamente en las líneas que tenemos, que son los diferentes áreas para gastar el dinero. Lo pudieron haber puesto en, supongamos, los salarios, lo pudieron haber puesto ahí. Obviamente lo pudieron haber gastado, ¿verdad? Con otros, con recibos o todo eso, pero en realidad es para que ellos los cambien y digan, el dinero se gastó en esta área, y cuando nosotros preguntemos, ya no está ese dinero porque se gastó en esta otra cosa.
Why isn't there transparency in that monthly exchange of invoices and expenses?
I don't think I can answer that. I don't know.
La pregunta que hicieron fue por qué no hay transparencia en los recibos de cada mes, ¿verdad? En realidad, pues no sabemos esa respuesta.
I think it would be up to the school board members to receive those monthly status reports and to ask why that money has been moved from the original budget line items that were passed and submitted to OSPI.
Creo que sería una pregunta de la mesa directiva en el distrito, de estar pidiendo los recibos y hacer preguntas por qué ese dinero se movió de una parte hacia la otra parte.
I don't know who was, I think, yeah, behind Debbie, right? Yeah.
So you pointed out that part of the classified staff were actually administrators, which is correct. And I know that a lot of those administrators do, as you pointed out, make over $200,000 a year. We also know that we are extremely short with paraprofessionals in our buildings, and that is a way for them to have that and make it look like we're not top-heavy in administration, when in fact we are. We've got a high-paid communications director with an assistant. We have other high-paid people that were brought in from other states. Finance director, yeah, and they keep on saying that we're not having that, and it's sending mixed messages. We are super short at this time, and in fact, paying exorbitant fees in subcontracting because we can't draw and keep parents.
Ok, lo voy a decir bien resumido. Algo larguito, pero lo que ella está diciendo es que obviamente sí tenemos personas que son clasificadas, ¿verdad? Y reciben obviamente un sueldo, pero ahora no tenemos tanta gente que está clasificada, que son o certificadas, ¿verdad? Para que ellos estén gastando todo ese dinero.
So my question has been, when people get upset about the levy, why is that levy being counted towards the budget when the levy money was supposed to go to extras, not in that general budget?
Ok, la pregunta de ella es ¿por qué el dinero de levy se va a ir al presupuesto? Supuestamente el dinero de levy no tiene que ser contado para el presupuesto, ese es un dinero extra.
So local funds are local, state, federal, and different federal special purpose and grants are all included in the general fund. The levy money is all included in that money.
But the levy that they proposed to us was to do sports and upgrade like electronics and things like that, and none of those things actually came true because they used it for the general budget.
Ok, la respuesta que nos dieron es que el dinero local, federal y estatal, y todo eso como las becas y todo eso que agarra el distrito es parte del levy, entonces parte de los gastos.
Those expenses also come from the general fund. Athletics, different school improvements, that all comes from the general fund.
So those are getting done.
Yes.
Yes.
Repeat the question. They can't hear it on phone.
She said, yes, but those things aren't being done.
Ok, lo que nos contestaron es, volvieron a preguntar es porque lo que nos dijo ella que todos los gastos, todo el dinero son gastos generales. La señora nos preguntó, ellos prometieron el año pasado que cuando si pasaba el levy no iban a quitar los deportes y las actividades extracurriculares, pero en realidad pues sí se van a quitar.
I have less of a question and more information about the materials and supplies increase. I'm a teacher here in Marysville, and one of our major concerns is that our budgets have been completely frozen, and we have been supplying our own material supplies for students all year long, and our buildings are not allowed to purchase things for us like tape, colored paper, staples, batteries for our remotes. Those are types of things that we've been told, no, we cannot buy them because our building budget will not allow it.
Okay, ella en vez de tiene una pregunta, simplemente es un comentario. Ella es una maestra y dice por qué está esa cantidad de las cosas materiales que supuestamente se va a gastar. Ella es una maestra y dice que ellos tienen que comprar todos sus materiales, ellos tienen que proveer grapas, baterías, el tape o el yurex. En realidad ella ha preguntado por qué no lo pueden comprar la escuela y dice que porque ese no tiene dinero básicamente. Ella no entiende por qué tiene ella que proveer esas cosas cuando supuestamente hay dinero para comprar esas cosas.
Sorry, quick interruption, housekeeping item. There are a couple cars that are blocking a staff member from leaving near the dumpsters. So if you parked your car near the dumpster, could you go run out there, take a quick peek and see if you can move your car? Thanks.
Is it me?
I have no idea.
They couldn't hear the question online, so we're just going to repeat it. So, what was your name? Yeah. Kyla, okay. So Kyla was saying, that materials and supplies budget is so large, but we're not able to purchase any materials or supplies for our classroom. So they're not allowed to purchase tape, paper, batteries, basic things for their classroom, but yet the budget is so large.
Lo que volvió a comentar es que la cantidad del dinero para los materiales es grandísima, pero los maestros tienen que comprar sus propios materiales. La escuela no les puede proveer nada porque no hay dinero, pero vemos que se van a gastar 18 millones en materiales.
There is a small amount of things we can purchase, but it's very limited.
Hay una cantidad, hay algunas cosas que sí se pueden comprar, que pueden comprar la escuela, pero es muy limitada.
Yeah.
Hi, I guess my question is, I've been to lots of meetings, this is so wonderful what's happening tonight, I love the dual language, I feel like it's the first day of the rest of our life. But I'm on a booster club that is waiting on those funds that disappeared and we know they're there, so what are the next steps you suggest us take?
Ella nada más tiene una pregunta. Ella dice que ella quiere saber cuáles son los siguientes pasos, ¿verdad? Porque ha estado en muchas juntas hablando del dinero y del presupuesto y todo, pero ella quiere saber cuáles son lo que vamos a hacer después.
I'll take that one. Show up. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. So the question is, what can we do next, right? How can we affect some change? Because you're waiting on some funds, it sounds like, for potentially some, and I know your face, I think it's for music. Yes, okay. What's that? The money's there, they're just not freeing it up for the purposes that are intended. So thank you for that comment. What can we do? This right here, we're talking about it. We're engaging in community conversation. We're engaging our community stakeholders so that they're aware that this community has a voice and isn't going to stop. We want transparency. We want to rebuild that trust in this community because we are all members of this community. So let's show up, let's make a ruckus until we can get things changed. So we will be, yes, go ahead.
Lo que vamos a hacer, bueno, lo que nuestro siguiente paso es venir a las juntas, seguir apoyando, seguir preguntando, seguir reuniéndonos, ¿verdad? Y hacer ruido para que ellos sepan que todos tenemos una voz.
And when we don't feel like we're being heard, we need to get louder. There's going to be people at the next community forum that are going to show up because we're going to continue to do these things until we're heard.
Y cuando no nos escuchan, ¿qué es lo que tenemos que hacer? Ser más ruidosos o hacer más ruido. Vamos a seguir haciendo estas juntas y para la siguiente junta gente no va a venir porque no vamos a parar de hacer estas juntas y seguir alzando nuestra voz.
Does anybody else have specific questions about tonight's presentation? Otherwise, okay, thank you. Go ahead, Ron.
To what extent is the problem in Marysville uniquely Marysville, as opposed to a problem imposed on Marysville by a very defective state funding formula?
Okay. Lo que él está preguntando es que ¿cuál será el beneficio y cómo va a ser la ciudad de Marysville hacer esos cambios?
June's here too, and I know that she knows all these things. I'm just gonna, I just feel like I'm doing this. The situation in Marysville is a unique one. When you talk to the state, there are school districts who are in a deficit. They're in binding conditions because they can't create a budget that is not negative. But the uniqueness and extreme deficit that Marysville has found itself in, considering the large fund balance that we started with last school year. This is a problem that is singularly Marysville.
Como podemos darnos cuenta, Marysville se distingue y entre todo el estado, varios distritos escolares están pasando por la misma deficiencia económica, pero Marysville es único. Hemos comparado con el estado varias ciudades y en realidad no hay, simplemente es cuando empezaron con un dinero, ¿verdad? Y ahora quieren decirnos lo contrario, simplemente necesitamos claridad.
Okay. Yep. I was also going to say that I think that the district announced that they found $5.9 million in savings. It's a lot of money.
I wish I could find that.
Me too. And that those other districts who are in binding conditions north of us, they're not finding $5.9 million in savings.
This isn't the first time when they did classified cuts before last school year, and they met by the union president, and they met with us. They came to the table one time and they said, "Oh, we managed to shave $7 million. How do you shave $7 million in a week?"
Que la pregunta es, un comentario es que ahora el distrito dijo que encontraron $5.9 millones. Yo quisiera saber cómo se encuentran para encontrármelos también, ¿verdad? En realidad, esas son las preguntas que tenemos. ¿Cómo pueden encontrar $5.9 millones de la noche a la mañana? La señora comentó que el año pasado ella preguntó y dijeron, no, encontramos $7 millones. ¿Cómo puedes encontrar ese dinero cuando tenemos una administración? Tenemos que, si tuviéramos claridad en el presupuesto, no podrías encontrar $5.9 millones de la noche a la mañana.
What is the reason that they borrowed that $6
what was it, $6 million and are having to pay that back, if they had monies available, what would be the reason you borrow money, you have money available?
La pregunta que ella hizo es por qué tuvieron que pedir prestados 6 millones si tenían el dinero. ¿Cuál fue la razón para pedir ese dinero prestado?
So there was money borrowed in June of last year. They didn't budget properly to anticipate that they were going to have that money. So they had to pay the loan back. And it cost us $38,000.
Can you say how much?
It was a $6 million loan. We had it for 1 month.
Ok, ellos hicieron mal el presupuesto, ¿verdad? Y tuvieron que pedir prestado 6 millones el año pasado en junio. Esos 6 millones nos costaron $30,000 extra porque ellos estimaron mal.
But for this school year, they took out the same $5 million loan, but because they said they weren't going to meet payroll because they didn't have enough apportionment from the state. But what they didn't tell everybody is that they had not received some of their apportionment from the state for their MLL program. That was roughly $2.something million, and they did not receive their Title I apportionment from the federal government because the applications were late.
Okay. So, este año volvieron a pedir 5 millones, pero los pidieron y ellos no dijeron a la gente que iban a recibir un dinero que es como 2 millones y algo de el programa de MLL, que es el programa que ayuda a los estudiantes de segundo lenguaje, más aparte el título 1 también iban a agarrar los fondos y tampoco lo dijeron.
MLL and
Eso es todo lo que dijo de los dos programas.
So when we talk about apportionment, that is the cash flow that we're talking about. And so the overall budget is different than how much money we have on hand by each month, which is why I was saying that the apportionment didn't come in because each month they get a payment. And if you don't have those payments, you're short on paying the people who are usually paid by that particular fund.
Ok, también se me olvidó mencionar algo en la última, fue que no agarraron el dinero del título 1 y de ML pronto porque las aplicaciones las metieron tarde. Lo último que dijo es que...
So we get money every month from the state?
Recibimos dinero del Estado cada mes.
And that's our cash flow.
Eso sería el efectivo que tenemos.
And if we don't have the money coming from the state?
Y si no tenemos el dinero, si no recibimos el dinero del Estado,
then we have a gap in the money that we have to pay the people who are paid by that money.
Entonces no tenemos los suficientes fondos para pagarle a la gente que se necesita pagar de ese dinero.
In the middle.
So I have a question about when school district budgets are created. So like most of us, we know how much is coming in, and we are planning for how much we can spend going out. Is that process done when the school district is creating their budget? Because it seems that that's not happening, and are they required to stay within? I mean, no, they have how much money is coming in, correct, for the year?
Yeah, let's have her.
Okay. Su pregunta es si sabemos o si cuando hacemos un presupuesto hasta nosotros, ¿verdad? Sabemos cuánto dinero tenemos y más o menos estimamos o hacemos un estimado de cuánto dinero se va a gastar. Ella quiere saber si ellos están haciendo eso, porque si lo estuvieran haciendo no estaríamos básicamente pasando eso, porque estamos haciendo o estimando lo que vamos a gastar, depende al dinero que tenemos.
So the question was, don't districts have to, or don't they know how much money they're going to be receiving from their local, state, and federal resources coming into the district so that they can budget properly? And the answer is yes. Anytime the legislature makes changes, improvements, or, taking money away, which is rare, the state lets the districts know. So usually districts can budget their revenue on how much they're going to receive by $1 to $2 million, which is why sometimes the districts have to dip in maybe $2 million into their fund balance to cover the discrepancies. But normally, yes, the district should be able to budget how much revenue they're going to be getting.
So lo que ella está explicando es que el distrito escolar sí sabe al principio o cuando dicen su presupuesto, sí saben cuánto es lo que tienen, cuál es su balance. A veces puede fallar como por 1 o 2 millones para llenar como los otros gastos, ¿verdad? O lo que no se tiene en mente en ese momento, pero ellos reciben toda la información del Estado, cuánto dinero van a agarrar, cuánto dinero van a obtener.
No, Amanda. Sorry, it's back.
Way back there.
My name is Amanda. I have a child who I had to take out of Kellogg Marsh this year because they don't have the staff.
Can you come up here with the mic so that we can have the people online hear you?
I'll try and keep it brief. My name is Amanda Ayland. Sorry, that's my maiden name. Weird. I'm Amanda Zamara. My child, I was forced to pull him out of Kellogg Marsh Elementary because his IEP states that he needs a one-on-one aide full-time, and they do not have the staff or resources to accommodate him. Right. I want to know, my question is if it is against the law for our school district to not accommodate our kids' IEPs, why is it that the paras are the first to get sacked when all of these administrators are getting brought in with these very, cushy paychecks?
Ok, su comentario y fue que ella tenía un niño en Kellogg Marsh y lo tuvo que sacar porque su programa de IEP, que es un niño con necesidades especiales, no tenían las personas correctas para cuidarlo. Lo que ella está diciendo es que si hay una ley en el estado que ella pueda los padres que tienen niños con necesidades especiales obligar a las escuelas a tener el personal para cuidar de ellos. Ella dice que las ayudantes o las paras o las ayudantes de maestras son las primeras que descansaron, pero son las primeras que cuidan a los niños. Y aparte les pagan muy poco.
So you're right, it is the law. And if there are individuals who have students not being served according to their IEP, OSPI has resources where parents can submit a community complaint. I know that there's been multiple already submitted and the investigatory process is already taking place. But yes, they should have paraeducators hired and available to serve students who are on IEPs.
So sí es en contra de la ley que el distrito escolar no tenga las personas adecuadas o no cumpla con los requerimientos para un niño con necesidades especiales. Se puede meter una queja con el departamento de OSPI. Ya hay unas quejas que se han metido y ellos ahí darían recursos para las familias, pero sí es en contra de la ley.
Okay, you're next.
So speaking
Karen,
of
do you want to come up?
Yeah, here.
My name is Karen and I'm representing another one of the committees in the school district that's actually pushing on the school district to find out why funds are being cut for our programs. So my question is speaking of the fund balance that is available, is it safe to assume there was probably money present in another portion of the budget that may have been able to be used to cover salaries in December until the money came in from the state, so we wouldn't have had to borrow money and repeat the exact same thing we did over the summer?
Ok, su pregunta es que si el distrito escolar pudo haber usado dinero para los salarios de los maestros, para cubrir algunos gastos o de otros gastos cubrir los salarios de los maestros y no se tuvo que haber pedido dinero prestado. Esa es la pregunta que ella tiene. ¿Se pudo haber hecho eso y se podría hacer este año que viene?
Maybe, but the monthly status reports are not clear, and so we can't tell what money is actually where at this point in time.
Podría ser que sí, pero como no hay reportes de cada mes, en realidad no sabemos dónde está el dinero o en qué se ha gastado.
Ray, I'm coming to you.
Well, no,
Come on, Ray.
You can't hear me, then you just stop.
Well, the folks online need to hear your lovely voice.
Is there any way we can go back to the slide, the last one, that one? And most of you have seen me or heard me. The only thing I really complained about, in July or August, they give you that information and you got time to criticize it maybe 5-7 minutes, and then you don't. It's supposed to be printed in the paper to let you know it's good, but they don't do that. They just put it in the agenda hoping you can find it. So my daughter let me know. I got off the golf course as fast as I could, went running up there just to make my issue. The issue that I have is, of course, this is the budget on spending. The revenue was supposed to be $220 million. $220 million. I was frustrated with them because we're going into a higher, as we keep going, we're going to be a quarter of a billion dollar school district. And most of your kids sit, I know, you'll catch up. If you stop me and I sit down, I'm not getting up again. And your kids and your grandkids are sitting in schools that are in bad shape. So when I have trouble with the director, is not that, but they don't tell you about the $220 million in revenue they have projected. So that number right there, that should be just a spin in the bucket. So where did it go? So as I go, if I say anything, I get her head shakes, it rolls her eyes, I can see her roll her eyes in the back of her head. But those questions you need to ask. And I hope when it comes to the end of July and June, somebody can text me, don't worry, Ray, you be there, keep golfing. You don't have to turn up to the hearing just to say something. But I was against the budget. And it's going to just get worse if you guys don't say anything. Thank you.
Lo que dijo es que este distrito casi va a ser $250 million. Este papel lo demuestran en la junta directiva en junio o julio. Lo ponen hasta abajo para que obviamente no nos demos cuenta, ¿verdad? O no lo veamos. Lo que básicamente nos dijo es que nosotros como padres tenemos que hacer las preguntas, tenemos que asistir a la junta y decir, ok, ¿dónde están los 220 millones de dinero? Básicamente es hacer preguntas como padres preocupados por nuestros hijos.
Would you like to come up?
No, I can be louder.
Okay. We'll read it.
I was just curious of who is going to start holding them accountable? What now?
Question was, who's going to hold them accountable and what do we do now?
La pregunta es que ¿quién va a ser el responsable? ¿Cómo los vamos a ¿quién va a ser el responsable de todo esto que está pasando? ¿A quién le vamos a echar la culpa, básicamente?
So I'll take that one. We will. So we have elected school board officials that can be voted out if they don't listen to what our community says. We have elected officials within our city that can be elected out if they don't listen to this community. And there are state officials, district officials that can be voted out. So while we can't necessarily make those decisions for the school board, the buck stops at the top of the district. And unless we all collectively use our voice and tell the school board what they don't hear, what they haven't heard this entire, school year, 2 years, 3 years, I don't know, however many years, if we don't start to use that voice and tell our school board directors what our thoughts are, they aren't going to know. They're not going to know how we feel. So we need to use our voice. We need to email, show up to the school board meetings, and share the information with people who are not here today.
Bueno, las personas, ¿quién nos va a hacer responsables? Nosotros. Nosotros somos las personas que tenemos que alzar nuestra voz. Tenemos personas que representan la ciudad, el estado, el distrito, la escuela que nos apoyan. Si nosotros no lo podemos hacer porque solamente somos parte de la comunidad, ellos lo van a hacer. Nosotros lo que tenemos que seguir haciendo es seguir alzando la voz, ir a las juntas de la mesa directiva, no dejar, porque si esperamos 10 años más, esto va a seguir mientras nosotros no hablemos y no apoyemos. En realidad esta es nuestra voz y son nuestros hijos, es nuestra comunidad, y sobre todo tenemos que ser partícipes, asistir a todos los eventos que sean necesarios para que nosotros podamos decidir el futuro de nuestros hijos, porque básicamente ellos lo están decidiendo.
And I'm open to thoughts from the community as well. So this isn't me driving everything, right? This isn't the Marysville Community Coalition made up of 8 people that are driving everything. It takes this community to bring suggestions to the table. Come and speak. Share your thoughts. We'll take those to who we can and see what kind of action we can get.
Por favor, estamos aceptando ideas, pensamientos, todo lo que nos quieran decir, cómo podemos mejorar, cómo podemos hacerlo. En realidad lo que necesitamos nada más es unidad y poder estar comunicados. Entonces, cuando tengan alguna duda, una pregunta, algún comentario, alguna idea que quieran hacernos, aquí estamos abiertos para escucharlos.
So I have a question. I don't know the back end of the board, right? I don't know how they go with their budget, but I've been part of Marysville School District for way too long, I'm old. But I've been part of 3 different budgets. And in order for us to solidify a budget as a parent committee, we had a parent staff, I'll make an example, when they wanted to have sports. I did that. And every single line item, you had to uncollapse it and go over every single, from a gator that, Erickson wanted to buy versus 3 gators over at MP. You know what I mean? It was, so does the board get the collapse version of a budget when they say yes to this? Because no offense to anybody, I can't imagine anybody, if I took this budget to my husband at our house, he'd look at me like I was a crazy lady. Yeah. So how can we get these budgets approved being so absolutely, just blatantly, I mean, you can stare at it and just go, this is wrong, and not even have backup to it, to know what's wrong.
Lo que ella está diciendo y lo que está preguntando es cómo pueden llegar a ser estos presupuestos tan mal, ¿verdad? Si nosotros llegamos ella dice que si ella llega con un presupuesto así a su casa, su marido le va a decir que está loca porque está gastando demasiado. Más aparte, ella ha participado en 3 presupuestos Puso un ejemplo de la High School de Getcho, que ella es, así como por ejemplo para los deportes, ¿verdad? Ella quiere saber cómo han llegado a este punto de tener el presupuesto así. Ella quiere saber si los miembros de la mesa directiva del distrito son partícipes de hacer el presupuesto o simplemente les dicen, este es el presupuesto y ellos tienen que acceder y decir sí, está bien.
So the question was, does the board get a expanded or a total, a detailed budget? I don't really know, but what I can tell you is that from last year, when you look at the board docs, if you look into it, there used to be these reports that were done for almost every purchase order where the board could go through and look at like what checks were written and what POs were submitted and how much money was going in and out of the general fund each month, but I don't know if that's still happening.
Can I make a comment?
Just a second, hold on just a second.
Lo que ella dijo es que ella no sabe, no está segura, ¿verdad? Pero puso un ejemplo que en otros lugares sí.
That they used to get like every expenditure that went out, they got a report.
So, lo que ellos hacían antes es que por cada cosa que ellos gastaban, ellos ofrecían un reporte. Entonces, esos eran los comprobantes de cómo se gastaban el dinero.
I was just going to say that the superintendent and any of the executive directors meet with the board 2 by 2, so they don't have to have a public meeting. They can meet with 1 or 2 at a time. They will typically call them in and go over the budget with them. I don't know how long it is, I don't know how much detail it is, but they can present things to them and have them ask detailed questions to the lobby prior to, or inform them prior to the meeting so they're more informed. But they do that with quite a few things, not just the budget.
Ok, fue un comentario que ella dice que el superintendente sí les presenta el presupuesto a la mesa directiva, se une con 1 o 2, depende. No está segura de qué tan detallado es, pero sí se los enseña y aparte de otras cosas que se les presentan a ellos. No sabemos si ellos toman la decisión, pero ahí pueden hacer preguntas de cómo está el presupuesto.
I want to just tell people that I didn't include the revenue on these documents, but if you go to that OSPI website and you look at the 23-24 F-195, you'll see on there that the estimated revenue for this school year is $187 million. So it's like $9 million more what they're saying they're going to spend. So they anticipate to get $187 million this school year, but they say that they're going to spend $206 million.
So ella no puso la información revenual del presupuesto. Ella lo que dice es que ella dice que es 187,000. Esa información la pueden revisar en la página de OSPI y lo que ellos han estimado es 206 millones más o menos, que son 18 millones arriba.
All right, we do have time for one more question or comment.
My question would be, do you really think we have a deficit or it's just hiding money?
Su pregunta es si de verdad hay una deficiencia en el presupuesto o simplemente están escondiendo el dinero.
I don't know. I think that's a very valid question that should be asked. But I would not be able to conjecture.
Well, somebody, she spent a little time.
I'm not allowed to.
Oh.
And I'm sorry for the folks that are online, the question was, do you think that we're actually in a deficit? My answer is, I don't know.
But how many people here trust them?
With that, I do want to thank every single person who showed up today, online, in person. Please share this information, keep the conversation going. If you haven't noticed, there is a paper on every table. Please scan that and make a decision if you'd like to sign the petition or not. We will hold some additional community forums to be determined what dates and venues we'll be choosing for those. And if everybody could please give Elizabeth a leg up. And I would also like to thank this gentleman back here in the green shirt, Mr. Colton Bloom, for setting up tonight's technology. Without this, I wouldn't have a mic, we wouldn't have online streaming, we wouldn't have really nothing. So thank you, Colton. All right. Yeah, okay.
So, nada más dijo que gracias, buenas noches, sigan apoyándonos. Tenemos un código, lo pueden escanear, ustedes pueden hacer la decisión. No sabemos la respuesta, si en verdad hay una deficiencia o están guardando el dinero. Seguiremos aquí apoyando y cualquier cosa, pues muchas gracias por venir a todos y los que están en línea también. Gracias.
Thank you again.